They told me to sleep in my car like it was a scheduling detail, not a message. I was standing in my parents' driveway with my overnight bag still on my shoulder when my mom said it, smiling like she was offering me a favor. She tilted her head toward the curb where my car was parked under the streetlight. She said it would just be easier. Just for one night. The house was full. My name is Kendra Hall. I'm 29. I looked past her into the house. String lights were already glowing in the backyard tent. Folding chairs were lined up in clean rows. The catering trays were stacked on the kitchen island, silver lids catching the light. It smelled like rosemary and warm bread. Everything looked ready for my sister's party. Everything except me. They claimed there wasn't space for me in the house. What they really wanted was for me to disappear before the photos. I shifted the bag on my shoulder and felt the weight of it tug. My keys were still in my hand. My phone buzzed once, then stopped. I didn't look at it. It's not a big deal, my mom said. You're so independent anyway. My dad stood behind her, already half turned toward the kitchen. He nodded once without meeting my eyes. We'll talk later, he said, like this was a parking issue, not a decision. I said okay. I always said okay. I heard my voice do it before my brain caught up. I walked back down the driveway. My car door opened with a soft click. The binder was in the glove compartment, right where I'd left it, corners bent from being opened too many times. I shut the compartment without pulling it out. I wasn't here to make a scene. I was here to help. That was my role. Show up early. Run errands. Cover gaps. Pay for things quietly so the night could look seamless. 10 days earlier, my sister Brielle had called me while I was at work, whispering like she was sharing a secret. She needed help with deposits. Just until checks cleared. Just until next week. I'd pulled up my spreadsheet during lunch, the one I used to keep my own bills straight. I added a new line. I always added a new line. Now I walked around to the side gate and let myself into the backyard like a guest arriving early. Nina, my best friend, was already there, lining up place cards. She glanced up and frowned. "Why are you carrying your bag?" she asked. "I'm just dropping it in the car," I said. I didn't explain. She looked toward the house, then back at me. "That's not normal," she said. "I know," I said. I smiled anyway and reached for the tape dispenser. I spent the next hour doing small things. I ran to the store for more ice. I wiped down folding tables. I paid the delivery driver when he said the card on file didn't go through. My phone buzzed again with a bank notification. I slid it face down on the counter and kept moving. Inside the kitchen, my mom rearranged platters and talked about lighting. She said the word aesthetic 3 times. When I asked where I should put my bag, she said, "Oh, you won't need it inside," like she was reminding me of a rule I'd agreed to. At one point, I caught my reflection in the microwave door. My hair was already curling from the humidity. I looked like staff. I stepped outside to my car as the sun dropped. I cracked the window. I set my bag on the back seat. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself it was one night. I told myself I could handle it. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from Nina. "Why aren't you staying in the house?" I stared at the screen until it dimmed. From the yard, I heard laughter rise as more guests arrived. Glasses clinked. Someone tested the microphone. From the kitchen doorway, my mom's voice floated out, light and loud. "Kendra's fine," she said. "She's basically camping." I felt my stomach drop as heads turned toward the driveway. From the kitchen doorway, my mom's voice floated out, light and loud. "Kendra's fine. She's basically camping." A couple people laughed like it was cute. I stood by my car with my hand still on the door frame, pretending I was looking for something in the back seat. My cheeks went hot anyway. I could feel it in my ears. I closed the door slowly, like that would make me look unbothered. The streetlight above the curb flickered once. My windshield had a dusty smear across it from my last drive. I rubbed at it with my sleeve out of habit, then stopped, realizing how ridiculous that was. Like a clean windshield was going to fix this. I walked back through the side gate. The backyard was filling up fast. Brielle's friends were already taking selfies under the string lights, drinks held high, the tent fabric glowing warm from the lamps. Someone had set a small table by the fence with a guest book and a basket of pens. I straightened the pens without thinking. Brielle spotted me and waved like we were close. She wore a white jumpsuit that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. Her fiancé, Evan, stood beside her in a pressed button-down, smiling in that careful way people do when they're meeting a family for the first time. "Kendra," Brielle said, drawing out my name like it was a brand. "You made it." "I did," I said. I kept my smile small. Evan stepped forward. "Hey, Brielle told me you helped a lot with this." His tone was genuine. That made my throat tighten. "Just some little stuff," I said. Brielle laughed. "She's being modest. Kendra loves a spreadsheet." My mom drifted over, already mid-host mode. She kissed Brielle's cheek, then looked at me like I was a lamp that needed moving. "Did you get the extra ice?" "It's in the garage freezer," I said. "Perfect," she said. "And do you mind grabbing a couple more votives? The front entry looks dark." So I went inside through the kitchen, stepping around trays of food and a stack of clean plates. The island was crowded with catering tins and napkins folded into neat triangles. My phone sat face down by the sink where I'd left it earlier. It buzzed. I flipped it over. Another bank notification. A small charge. Party-related. My stomach did that familiar drop, the one that had started happening a lot in the last week. I swiped the notification away without opening it, like ignoring it made me less responsible for it. I grabbed the bag of votives from a cabinet and walked toward the front of the house. The entryway smelled like lemon cleaner. There were framed family photos on the hallway wall. Brielle at prom. Brielle at graduation. Brielle holding a big fake check at some scholarship event. There was one picture of me, from years ago, tucked near the bottom. I looked like I wasn't sure where to put my hands. I set the votives on the entry table and lit them one by one. The flame wobbled in the glass. My hands were steady, but my chest felt tight. Behind me, someone cleared their throat. It was my dad. He leaned against the doorway, not stepping fully into the light, like he didn't want to commit to being seen. His tie was slightly crooked. He smelled faintly like coffee and aftershave. "You okay?" he asked. It would have been easier if he'd just stayed silent. "I'm fine," I said, because that word had become my reflex. He nodded once. He stared at the flickering candles like they were complicated. "Your mom just wants the night to go smoothly." "So do I said. He opened his mouth, closed it. The hallway felt too quiet for a house full of guests. "It's just one night," he said finally. "We'll talk later." I waited for him to say anything else. Something that sounded like a father. Something that sounded like an apology. He didn't. He stepped past me and walked back toward the kitchen, already moving on to the next task. I stood there for a second with the lighter still in my hand, staring at the little blue flame like it could explain him. Outside again, Nina caught me by the drink table. She leaned in close, voice low. "I heard what your mom said," she murmured. "Are you actually sleeping in your car?" I hesitated. It was a small pause, but it felt loud. Nina's eyes narrowed. "Kendra." I exhaled through my nose, trying to keep my face calm. "It's fine," I said. "It's just for the night." "No," Nina said, sharper. Then she softened it. "No, that's not fine." I didn't answer. I lifted a stack of plastic cups and started separating them. My fingers fumbled. One cup fell and rolled under the table. Nina crouched and grabbed it, then looked up at me. "What are they doing?" she asked. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from my mom. "Do not bring up money tonight. Not in front of anyone." My thumb hovered over the screen. I could feel my pulse in my fingertips. I looked across the yard. My mom was laughing with two of Brielle's friends' moms, hand on her chest, performing warmth. Brielle was pulling Evan toward the photo backdrop. And I was standing there with a dropped cup in my hand and a message that felt like a threat. Then another text came in, right under it. "Also, you're parking on the street. Move the car before someone notices." "Also, you're parking on the street. Move the car before someone notices." I stared at the text until the letters blurred a little. Someone notices. Like my car was a stain on the neighborhood. Like I was. I slid my phone into my back pocket and forced my feet to move. The yard was loud with music and bright voices, but I could hear my mom's message under everything, like a bass note. I walked out through the side gate and down the driveway again. The air near the street felt cooler. My car sat exactly where it had been, tucked along the curb under the streetlight. I clicked the key fob, and the lights blinked, too bright for a second. The inside smelled like my vanilla air freshener and the faint plastic warmth of the dashboard. I climbed in and scooted forward to reach the glove compartment. The binder was still there. I didn't take it out. Not yet. I started the engine, backed up, and rolled the car farther down the street, past my parents' mailbox, past the neighbors' hydrangeas. I parked near a storm drain where the curb dipped slightly. It felt like hiding, even though I was doing exactly what I'd been told. I shut the car off and sat there for a moment with both hands on the steering wheel. My phone buzzed again. "Nina, are you okay? Do you want me to come with you?" I typed, "I'm fine," and erased it. I typed, "Give me a minute," and hit send. When I got back to the yard, my mom was waiting near the kitchen door like she'd been tracking me. Her smile was still on, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You moved it?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "Good," she said, then lowered her voice. "Kendra, tonight is not about you." It wasn't a new sentence. It was just the first time she'd said it that plainly. "I'm not trying to make it about me," I said. She tilted her head. "Then don't act weird." I let out a small laugh that wasn't real. "I'm not acting weird." She took a step closer, keeping her shoulders relaxed like she was doing me a kindness. "You always get sensitive when things aren't perfect for you," she said. "This is why we didn't want you in the house. The energy." My fingers curled around the edge of my phone in my pocket. The word energy made my teeth clench. "Mom," I said quietly, "you told me to sleep in my car." Her face shifted into practiced confusion. "I did not tell you that," she said, light and quick. "I said the house is full and you're independent. You suggested your car." I blinked once. It was like she'd slapped me without moving her hand. "I didn't suggest that," I said. She looked past me toward the yard, checking if anyone was listening. Then she smiled again. "Kendra, don't do this," she murmured. "Not tonight. People are here." That was the line she always used. "People are here." Like the presence of witnesses made her right. I swallowed and felt my throat tighten. "So where am I supposed to go?" I asked. She lifted both hands, palms up. "You're making it dramatic," she said. "You have a car. You're fine. Some people don't have that." She said it like she'd just delivered something wise. From behind us, a tray clattered lightly. Someone in the kitchen shifted a stack of plates. The normal party sounds kept going. My mom's voice stayed soft, controlled. "And don't bring up money," she added, eyes narrowing slightly. "We are not discussing that. You love to keep score." I stared at her. I could picture the charges on my bank app, little lines of text and numbers. I could picture the spreadsheet on my laptop at home, the column I'd labeled family, and kept expanding because it was easier than saying no. "You asked me for help," I said. She smiled again, sharper this time. "And you offered," she said. "Nobody forced you. If you're going to throw it back in our faces, then maybe you shouldn't help at all." There it was. She didn't deny the money. She just turned it into my flaw. I opened my mouth and nothing came out. My tongue felt thick. I hated that about myself, the way my body stalled like a cheap computer. My mom leaned closer, her perfume sweet and heavy. "Go freshen up," she said. "Smile. Brielle deserves a beautiful night." Then she turned and walked back into the kitchen like she'd just reminded me to bring extra napkins. I stood there in the doorway with my hands at my sides, listening to the hum of the refrigerator and the chatter outside. Nina appeared beside me, like she'd been hovering. "What did she say to you?" she asked. "It's nothing," I said automatically. Nina's eyes flicked to my face. "Kendra," she said again, slower this time. I shook my head once, trying to reset. "I can handle it," I said. That was my other reflex. A few minutes later, Brielle came inside looking for her lipstick. She was glowing, cheeks flushed from compliments, holding her phone up to check herself in the dark microwave door. She didn't look at me at first. Then she did, and her smile thinned. "Mom said you're being weird," she said, like she was reporting the weather. "I'm not being weird," I said. Brielle rolled her eyes and opened a drawer hard enough that the utensils rattled. "Please don't embarrass me," she said. "Evan's family is here. This is important." I watched her find the lipstick, twist it up, and smooth it over her mouth like nothing else mattered. "I won't embarrass you," I said, and I meant it. I was still saying yes, even then. The front doorbell rang. Voices rose near the entry. My dad called out a greeting. Then I heard a familiar laugh, low and warm. cutting through the noise. My stomach tightened for a different reason. Grandma Joni was here. Grandma Joni was here. I turned toward the entryway like my body knew her before my brain did. The front hall was brighter now, votives flickering on the table I'd set up earlier. Guests were clustered near the doorway, shifting to make room. Grandma stepped inside with a small quilted purse tucked under her arm and her gray hair pinned back the way she always wore it for church. She wasn't tall, but she moved like someone who expected the world to adjust around her. Her eyes landed on me. Not in a quick, polite way. In a way that felt like she'd been looking for me all day. "Kendra," she said, and the word sounded steady, real. My throat tightened. I walked to her and hugged her, careful not to crush her purse. She smelled like hand lotion and peppermint. "You weren't supposed to drive at night," I whispered. She patted my back once. "I wasn't supposed to do a lot of things," she said. Then she pulled back and looked at my face. Her gaze didn't slide off. It stayed. My mom appeared behind us instantly, like she'd been waiting for a chance to intercept. "Mama Joni," she said brightly. "You made it!" Grandma's smile was polite, tight at the corners. "I did," she said. "I heard there was a party." Brielle floated in from the backyard with Evan right behind her. Her smile went wide when she saw Grandma, the way it always did for someone she wanted on her side. "Grandma," Brielle sang, leaning in for a hug. Grandma gave her a quick squeeze, then looked over Brielle's shoulder at Evan. "And you must be Evan." Evan stepped forward, hand out. "Yes, ma'am. It's really nice to meet you." Grandma shook his hand. "Nice to meet you too," she said, and her tone made it sound like she meant it. Then she looked back at me again, like she hadn't finished checking the room. My mom clapped her hands softly. "We're about to do photos," she said. Then a little toast. "Come on, let's get you settled." Grandma nodded once. "Of course," she said. We moved through the house toward the backyard, and I felt something odd happen as we walked. People made space for her. They looked at her like she mattered. My mom's voice got a little higher, a little more careful. My dad stopped pretending he was busy and came over, all smiles and small talk. "You look good, Mama," he said. Grandma's eyes flicked to him. "Do I?" she said. Not a question. A statement. Outside, the party was fully in motion. String lights dipped across the tent. Someone had turned the music down so you could hear conversation and laughter, the kind that sounded easy when it wasn't happening inside your chest. The photo backdrop had been set up near the fence, with faux greenery and a neon sign with Brielle's name. Brielle's friends lined up for pictures first. Then Evan's family. Then my mom started arranging people like she was directing a wedding. "Kendra, you can stand over there," she said, pointing toward the edge of the group, near the folding chairs. It was subtle. It always was. I stepped where she indicated. I kept my face calm. I held my hands in front of me so nobody could see them clench. Grandma stood closer to the center without being told to. She didn't ask permission. The photographer raised his camera and called out for everyone to lean in. My mom smiled wide, chin lifted. Then my mom laughed, a little too loud, like she wanted the next sentence to carry. "Everyone relax," she said. "Kendra's our low-maintenance one. She's so independent she's basically camping tonight." A couple of people chuckled again. Evan's sister gave a confused little smile that didn't quite land. I felt the blood rush to my face, the same hot shame as earlier, but now it had witnesses. Real ones. Not just my own thoughts. I stared at the grass. I forced my mouth into something that could pass as a smile. Grandma turned her head slowly, like she wasn't sure she heard correctly. "Camping," she repeated. My mom waved a hand. "You know, her car. The house is full. Kendra doesn't mind. She's tough." The photographer cleared his throat awkwardly, camera still raised like he didn't know whether to click or stop. My dad let out a soft laugh that sounded like a cough. Brielle's smile tightened. "Mom," she murmured, like she wanted the moment back. Nina appeared at the edge of the tent, her eyes locked on me, jaw set. Grandma took one step forward, then another. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't make a scene with volume. She made one with presence. "Why would she be sleeping in her car?" Grandma asked, "at her sister's party?" My mom's laugh faltered. "Oh, it's not like that," she said quickly. "It was just easier. You know how Kendra is." Grandma's gaze shifted to me again. "I don't know," she said. "Tell me." I could feel every person in that tent suddenly listening, even the ones pretending not to. I opened my mouth. My mom cut in fast. Kendra offered, she said. She said it was fine. She's being dramatic now. Grandma's eyes didn't leave my mom's face. Marilyn, she said, calm as a kitchen timer, don't speak for her. My mom froze. Smile still on but starting to crack. Grandma turned back to me. Kendra, she said again. Is that true? My hands were shaking now. Not wildly. Just enough that I noticed. I thought about my car parked down the street by the storm drain. I thought about the text that told me to move it before someone noticed. I thought about the binder in my glove compartment, corners bent, waiting. I swallowed once, hard, and lifted my eyes to Grandma. Then my mom stepped closer, voice low, sharp, meant only for me. Do not do this, she hissed. Grandma watched her do it, and Grandma's expression changed. Not angry, not loud. Just a quiet click behind her eyes, like a latch sliding into place. She put one hand lightly on my arm and turned her body so she was between me and my mom without making it obvious. Then she looked at the photographer. Sweetheart, Grandma said, go ahead and take your pictures. We'll step inside for a moment. The photographer blinked, relieved to have permission to look away. People shifted. Someone laughed too loudly like they could smooth the air back into place. My mom's smile came back fast. There's no need, she said. We're fine. It's just a misunderstanding. Grandma nodded like she'd heard her. Then she looked at Evan. Evan, she said, would you mind helping me with something inside? I don't want to trip in these shoes. Evan hesitated. His eyes flicked to Brielle. Brielle's face was tight, chin lifted, like she was begging him not to make it worse. Evan still said, of course. That mattered more than it should have. Grandma took my elbow and guided me toward the house. Nina fell in behind us without asking. My dad followed a step back, trying to look like he was escorting us on purpose. My mom trailed last, still smiling, still trying to keep the night in her control. Inside, the kitchen was bright and cold compared to the tent. The island was still crowded with catering trays. A stack of paper napkins sat like a little wall. The refrigerator hummed. Someone had left a wine bottle open on the counter with a corkscrew beside it. Grandma took a slow breath and looked around like she was noting every exit. Then she turned to me. Where are your keys? She asked. I touched my pocket. Right here. Go get your binder, she said, like she was asking for my coat. My heart jumped. Grandma, I whispered. Her eyes didn't soften. They sharpened. Kendra, she said, I am not asking twice. My mom stepped forward. What binder? She said with a little laugh. She brings work everywhere. It's just her being her. Grandma looked at my mom the way you look at someone who keeps talking during a movie. Kendra, Grandma repeated, go. I moved before I could talk myself out of it. The house felt suddenly too big as I crossed the hallway. The entryway candles were still flickering. Guests' voices drifted in through the open back door. I walked down the front steps and into the night air. My car was down the street where my mom had told me to hide it. The street was lined with neat lawns and quiet mailboxes. I walked fast anyway, sandals slapping the pavement. When I got to the car, I sat in the driver's seat for a second and stared straight ahead. The dashboard clock glowed faint green. I opened the glove compartment and pulled out the binder. It was thinner than people imagine when they hear the word binder. Just a clipped stack. A printed spreadsheet. Bank statements folded and refolded. Sticky notes marking the lines that kept repeating. I ran my thumb over the bent corner and felt my hand shake. Then I shut the glove compartment and walked back. When I came into the kitchen, Grandma was standing at the island like she owned it. Nina was beside the sink, arms crossed, silent and furious. Evan stood near the pantry door, unsure where to put his hands. My dad was hovering by the doorway, face pale. My mom was still performing calm, but her eyes kept darting toward the backyard like she was afraid someone would see the real her. Grandma pointed to the island. Put it there, she said. I set the binder on the kitchen counter. The sound was small. The effect was not. My mom's smile broke for a second. This is ridiculous, she said. We are not doing this. Not tonight. Grandma opened the binder without flinching. She flipped to the top page and smoothed it flat with her palm. It was my spreadsheet, rows and columns, simple labels, amounts that weren't dramatic by themselves until you saw them stacked. Party deposit, catering balance, tent rental, extra chairs. a line that said utility catch-up with my parents' address beside it. Grandma tapped the page with one finger. "Marilyn," she said, "explain why Kendra paid for these." My mom laughed once, sharp and ugly. "She didn't," she said. "That's not real. Anyone can type anything." I reached for my phone, then stopped. Nina was already pulling hers out, screen lit, ready. Grandma didn't look at Nina. Grandma reached into the binder and lifted a bank statement page, the kind that came straight from a website download. The account number was partially blocked out by my own black marker. The transactions were not. She held it up just high enough that the people closest could see. My dad stared at it like it was a language he didn't know. Evan stepped closer, eyes moving across the lines. "These are from her account," he said quietly. Brielle's voice floated in from the doorway. "What is going on?" She stood there with her white jumpsuit still perfect, lipstick still on, but her eyes wide and panicked. Behind her, through the open back door, I saw two guests slow down near the kitchen threshold, pretending to look for the bathroom while they listened. My mom's voice jumped an octave. "Nothing," she said fast. "Grandma is confused. Kendra's being dramatic." Grandma didn't raise her voice. She slid the bank statement onto the counter beside the spreadsheet and lined the pages up like place settings. "Brielle," Grandma said, "did you know your sister paid for this party?" Brielle blinked hard. Her gaze snapped to me, then to Evan, then back to the papers like the ink might disappear if she didn't look too long. "I thought," Brielle started. She stopped. She swallowed. Mom said it was handled. Evan's face changed. Not anger. Something colder. Disappointment. Settling in. My dad finally spoke, voice thin. "Marilyn," he said, "what is this?" My mom's fingers curled into the edge of the counter. Her nails were freshly done, pale pink. I noticed that because my brain was trying to stay grounded. She leaned in toward me, voice low, meant to slice without witnesses. "You are ruining her night," she said. Grandma heard it anyway. Grandma lifted her chin slightly and spoke toward the open door, toward the tent, toward anyone hovering close enough to pretend they weren't listening. "She is not ruining anything," Grandma said. "The truth just arrived." And that's when Brielle's phone lit up on the counter with a new message that made her face go blank. And that's when Brielle's phone lit up on the counter with a new message that made her face go blank. She didn't speak right away. She just stared at the screen like it had turned into something dangerous. Evan leaned closer. "What is it?" he asked, quiet. Brielle's mouth opened, then closed. Her fingers tightened around the phone until her knuckles went pale. "It's from the venue," she said finally. Her voice came out thin. "They're asking who to invoice for the remaining balance." My mom's head snapped up. "They already got paid," she said too fast. Grandma didn't even look at my mom. Grandma looked at Brielle. "Answer them," she said. "Right now." Brielle swallowed. Her eyes flicked to me like she wanted me to rescue her from the moment. That old habit tried to rise in me, the one that said, "Fix it, smooth it, pay it, make it quiet." Instead, I stood still. Evan's jaw worked once, like he was chewing on something he didn't want to taste. "Brielle," he said, "who's been paying for this?" Brielle's eyes filled, but she blinked hard and kept her makeup intact. "I thought Mom was," she whispered. My mom laughed again, sharp. "This is insane," she said. "We're in the middle of a party." Grandma slid the spreadsheet a little closer to Brielle like she was offering her a mirror. "You are in the middle of a lie," Grandma said. "There's a difference." My dad moved to the counter, hands up slightly. "Let's talk about this later," he said, privately. "Please." Nina made a sound, barely a laugh. "Later is how this keeps happening," she said. My mom shot her a look. "This is family," she snapped. Nina didn't flinch. "So is she," Nina said, nodding at me. The kitchen felt smaller by the second. The hum of the refrigerator got louder. The back door kept swinging a little as guests passed, pretending they needed napkins, pretending they didn't hear the word invoice. Grandma turned to me. "Kendra," she said, "go wash your hands." I blinked. "What?" Grandma's eyes stayed steady. "Go wash your hands," she repeated. "Then come back and listen. You don't need to say much." It was the most grandmother thing she could have said in the middle of a storm. It also gave me something to do besides shake. I went to the sink, turned on the water, and watched it run over my fingers. My hands were still trembling. I pressed my palms together under the stream until the shaking eased. When I turned back, Brielle was sitting on a bar stool, phone in both hands. Evan stood behind her with one hand resting lightly on the back of the stool, like he was trying to stay calm without leaving. My mom was pacing 2 small steps, like a caged person who didn't want to look caged. Grandma tapped the binder once. "Kendra has been covering costs," she said, simple. And then she was told to sleep in her car so she wouldn't be seen. My mom's face went tight. That is not what happened. Grandma's gaze flicked to my dad. "Daryl," she said, "did you tell her to come inside?" My dad's mouth opened, closed. He looked at his shoes like they had answers. "That's what I thought," Grandma said. Evan exhaled slowly. "Marilyn," he said, and the way he used my mom's first name sounded like a boundary forming. "Why would you do that?" My mom's eyes flashed. "Because she makes everything heavy," she said, pointing at me. "Because she holds things over our heads. Because she's always keeping track." I felt my stomach clench, but Grandma reached out and covered my hand with hers, warm and firm. Grandma spoke like she was talking about groceries. "Keeping track is what you do when you keep getting used," she said. My mom's phone buzzed on the counter. She grabbed it and looked down. Her face changed again. She turned the screen toward my dad. "It's the bank," she said, voice sharper. "The card just declined." My dad's eyebrows pulled together. "What card?" "The one for the tent company," my mom hissed. "The one we always use." Nina's eyes went to me. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to. I wasn't doing anything dramatic. I was just not doing what I usually did. The truth was, I'd already decided what I was going to do the second my mom texted me not to bring up money. I'd sat in my car by that storm drain, watched the dashboard glow, and realized something simple. If they wanted me out of sight, they didn't get to keep my support. I pulled my phone out and opened my email. My hands were steadier now. I clicked on the confirmations I'd already set up earlier in the day, the ones I'd hesitated over and saved as drafts like a safety net. Cancel autopay for the utility account tied to my parents' address. Remove my card from the catering payment portal. Stop the recurring transfer labeled Family Help. One by one, I hit confirm. A few seconds later, my inbox chimed. Confirmation email. Confirmation email. Confirmation email. My mom watched my face like she could see the clicks through my skin. "What did you do?" she asked. I looked at her and kept my voice low. "I stopped," I said. My dad stepped forward, panic rising. "Kendra, don't do this right now," he said. "Just give us a day. Please." Grandma squeezed my hand once. "No," she said, calm. "This is the day." My mom's phone buzzed again. She looked down at the screen. Then she whispered, like she couldn't believe it was real. "There's a transfer request," she said, eyes lifting to me, "from your account." "There's a transfer request," she said, eyes lifting to me, "from your account." The kitchen went still in a way that felt louder than yelling. My mom held her phone out like it was proof I'd done something criminal. On the screen, I could see it clearly. A request. A familiar amount. The same phrasing she always used. Something bland like "need this as soon as possible." My dad's face tightened. "Marilyn," he said, "why are you requesting money right now?" My mom didn't look at him. She kept looking at me. "Because she's trying to punish us," she said, voice shaking with a kind of anger that wanted to be righteous. "She's trying to humiliate Brielle." Brielle flinched at her own name like it was a slap. Evan took one step back from her stool. Not far. Just enough to change the air between them. Nina's voice was quiet. "You sent a request while calling her dramatic," she said. "You realize that, right?" My mom's eyes flashed. "Stay out of it." Grandma didn't raise her voice. She just reached across the counter and turned my mom's phone slightly so everyone could see it. "Marilyn," Grandma said, "you sent that." My mom's mouth opened. She closed it. She tried again. "It's just a request," she said. "It doesn't mean anything. It's not like it forces her." Grandma nodded once. "Exactly," she said. "So the answer is no." I looked at the screen for a second longer. Then I tapped my own phone, opened the request on my end, and hit decline. A tiny red word appeared. Declined. My mom's face went pale, then red, then pale again. My dad let out a breath like he'd been holding it for years. "Okay," he said. "Okay. We can fix this. We can talk like adults." My mom swung toward him. "Fix what?" she snapped. "This is her doing this." She's always wanted to make me look bad. Grandma's gaze slid to my dad. Daryl, she said, do not let her rewrite what I watched with my own eyes. My dad's shoulders sagged. He didn't answer. That was his answer. Brielle's eyes were glassy. She looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time, not as a helper, not as a shadow in the back of pictures. I didn't know, she whispered. I believed her. That didn't make it hurt less. Evan cleared his throat, voice controlled. I'm going to step outside for a minute, he said to Brielle. I need air. Brielle's hand reached for him, then stopped halfway, fingers curling back to her lap. He left through the back door without slamming it. That almost felt worse. My mom watched him go, then spun back to me like she'd found her target again. Look what you did, she said. You always do this. You always take something that isn't about you and make it ugly. I could feel my heart beating in my throat. Grandma's hand was still on mine, warm and steady. Marilyn, Grandma said, you are done. My mom gave a tight laugh. Oh, please. Grandma leaned in slightly. You told her to sleep in her car, she said. You took her money. Then you made a joke about it in front of guests. Now you are sending requests from her account while calling her dramatic. If you cannot hear yourself, you will hear me. My mom's lips pressed together. For a second, she looked like she might cry. Then she didn't. She grabbed her phone off the counter. Fine, she said. If everyone wants to take her side, take it. Let her have her moment. She walked out of the kitchen with her shoulders high, like she was exiting a stage. My dad took a step after her, then stopped. He looked back at Grandma, then at me, like he was trying to decide which version of himself he wanted to be. He followed her anyway. The kitchen stayed behind with the rest of us. Brielle stared at the binder on the counter. Nina stayed close to me, silent but present. Grandma flipped the binder shut gently, like she was tucking something away. I'm sorry, Brielle said again, softer. I nodded once. I couldn't give her more than that yet. Grandma turned to me. Where are you going tonight? She asked. The old answer rose in me automatically. My car. The storm drain? The streetlight. Then I looked at Grandma's face and heard the question differently. Where are you going? As in, what are you choosing? I'm not sleeping in my car, I said. My voice shook a little, but it was clear. Nina exhaled like she'd been holding her breath. Come with me, she said. My couch is not glamorous, but it's inside. Grandma nodded. Good, she said. Brielle looked like she wanted to argue, like she wanted to say the house could make room now that it mattered. But she didn't. She just watched me, eyes wet, as if she finally understood that an apology doesn't rebuild a night. I picked up the binder and held it to my chest. The edge dug into my palm. Outside, the party music kept playing, a little too cheerful. My phone buzzed. A new notification slid across my screen. Family group chat? Marilyn added you. Family group chat. Marilyn added you. The little banner sat at the top of my screen like a warning light. I didn't open it yet. I just stared at it while the backyard music kept thumping through the open back door, cheerful and wrong. My fingers were still wrapped around the binder. The paper edges pressed into my palm, grounding me. Nina touched my elbow. Come on, she said softly. Grandma nodded toward the hallway. Get your bag, she said. You're leaving with your head up. I walked through the house like I was in someone else's life. The hallway photos watched me as I passed. Brielle at prom. Brielle at graduation. The little picture of me near the bottom. I stopped and looked at it for half a second, then kept moving. My overnight bag was still in my car. I stepped out the front door into the cooler air. The street was quiet except for the party sounds behind me. I walked down the sidewalk toward where I'd parked, past the neighbor's hydrangeas, past the mailbox with the fresh paint. My car sat under the streetlight like it always had. Not glamorous, not shameful. Just mine. I unlocked it and opened the back door. My bag was there. I pulled it out and set it on the sidewalk for a second. The binder went into my tote, like it belonged with me. Not hidden. My phone buzzed again. I finally opened the family group chat. Mom, Kendra, you owe your sister an apology. Dad, can we please talk tomorrow and calm down? Brielle, please stop. This is making everything worse. Aunt Lacey, I don't know what's happening, but this is not appropriate in a group chat. Then my mom again. Mom, after everything we've done for you. My thumb hovered. I could feel the old panic trying to make me type a paragraph. Explanations. Pleading. Softening language so nobody would be mad. Grandma's voice was behind me, close enough that it felt like a hand on my shoulder. In writing, she'd said earlier, like it was a spell that kept you safe. I typed one sentence. I will not discuss this in a group chat. Any future requests must be in writing and will be considered case by case. I stared at it. It sounded cold. It also sounded true. I hit send. Read receipts popped up fast. Mom, you are unbelievable. Dad didn't reply. Brielle didn't reply. Nina's car pulled up behind me, headlights washing the sidewalk. She leaned across the passenger seat and pushed the door open. Get in, she said. Now. I slid into the car with my bag at my feet. Nina drove with both hands on the wheel, jaw tight. In the rearview mirror, I saw my parents' house glowing with party lights. People still laughing. Still taking photos. Still pretending everything was fine. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a separate text. Evan, I'm sorry. I didn't know. Thank you for not lying to keep things pretty. I stared at that message for a long time. Nina's apartment was a few minutes away. She let me in with a spare key and flipped on the hallway light. The place smelled like laundry detergent and the basil plant she kept by the window. A stack of mail sat on her counter like a normal life. She pointed to the couch. Blankets in the basket, she said. I set my tote down and pulled the binder out. I didn't open it. I just looked at it, then slid it under the couch cushion like I was tucking away something that no longer owned me. Grandma called as I was taking off my shoes. Her voice was steady. You safe? She asked. Yes, I said. My voice broke a little on the word, and I hated that it did, but I didn't apologize for it. Grandma took a breath. Good, she said. Tomorrow, you keep doing what you started. I will, I said. After I hung up, I opened my banking app one more time. The canceled auto pays were listed as stopped. The recurring transfer was gone. No more quiet drains. No more little lines labeled help. I set my phone face down on Nina's coffee table and sat on the couch. For the first time all night, my shoulders dropped. Later, when the apartment was dark and the street outside was quiet, I went down to Nina's small parking lot to grab my charger from my car. The air was colder now. My breath showed faintly as I walked. I unlocked my car and climbed in for a second, not to sleep, just to sit. The steering wheel was cool under my hands. I thought about how my mom had used my car like a punchline. I thought about Grandma stepping forward without raising her voice. I thought about the tiny red word. Declined. I grabbed the charger, locked the car, and stood there for a moment under the lot light. Then I turned and walked back inside.